First gunshot shattered the morning. It echoed through the grand marble halls of the bank like thunder, loud, violent, impossible to ignore. Screams followed instantly. Customers dropped to the floor. Glass shattered, and within seconds, chaos took over. The front doors of one of the most secure banks in Washington, D.C. burst open as armed men stormed inside. Their movements fast, aggressive, and perfectly coordinated. No more silence. No more control. This was war. Down. Everyone down, one of the men shouted, firing another shot into the ceiling. Plaster rained down as people scrambled for cover, crawling, crying, trying to escape the nightmare unfolding around them. Security guards rushed forward, weapons drawn, but they were too slow. Gunfire erupted. Sharp, rapid, precise. One guard's weapon flew from his hand as a bullet struck at mid-aim. Another was forced to the ground, disarmed in seconds. The attackers weren't just violent. They were trained, dangerously trained. And walking through the chaos like the eye of the storm was Zonguli. He didn't run. He didn't shout. While bullets echoed and people screamed, he walked forward slowly, his polished shoes stepping calmly across the shattered glass. His face remained cold, focused, untouched by the panic around him. To him, this was not chaos. This was control. Time is already moving, he said quietly. His voice was calm, but it cut through the noise like a blade. Instantly, his crew shifted. Gunfire became controlled. Movement became strategic. Two men held the crowd down, weapons raised. Another dragged the wounded security guard aside and secured him. One more rushed toward the control panel, pulling out a device and smashing it into the system. The alarm cut. Just like that. Silence, except for the distant sirens already beginning to rise outside. Zonguli reached the center of the bank and stopped. His eyes scanned everything. Every angle, every movement, every threat. Then he spoke again. No mistakes. Outside, police cars screeched to a halt. Doors slammed. Officers took position behind vehicles, weapons drawn. This is the police. Drop your weapons, a voice shouted through a megaphone. Inside the bank, one of Zonguli's men looked toward the entrance. They're early. Zonguli didn't react. They're always early, he replied. Then he turned toward the vault. Finish it. Inside, the operation accelerated. A man sprinted toward the vault hallway, sliding across the polished floor as he reached the reinforced steel door. Another joined him, carrying specialized equipment. Behind them, gunfire suddenly erupted again. Police had forced entry through a side access point. Bullets tore through walls. Glass exploded. Customers screamed as they pressed themselves tighter against the ground. Zonguli remained standing, still, watching, calculating. A police officer rushed into view, aiming directly at him. Drop your... Before he could finish, a shot rang out. The officer's weapon flew from his hands as he stumbled backward. Zonguli didn't even flinch. His man had already handled it. Precision. Always precision. 2 minutes, someone shouted from the vault. Zonguli glanced toward the hallway, then back toward the growing police presence. The situation was tightening, but he wasn't worried, because this was already planned. Outside, more sirens screamed through the streets. Helicopters thundered overhead. Inside, the tension reached its peak. Done, the vault man shouted. The door burst open. Stacks of cash, secure boxes, hidden assets, everything they came for. Take only what matters. Zonguli ordered sharply. His men moved fast, filling reinforced cases with selected targets, ignoring everything else. This wasn't random. It was surgical. Gunfire intensified near the entrance. Police were pushing harder now. A flashbang exploded. A blinding burst of light and sound ripped through the room. For a split second, everything went white. But Zonguli's team didn't panic. They moved through it. Trained, prepared, focused. Move, one of them shouted. Cases snapped shut. Weapons raised. Formation tightened. Zonguli turned toward the exit. Now, the team moved. Fast, aggressive. A black smoke grenade hit the floor. Thick smoke exploded outward, swallowing the entire front of the bank in darkness. Police rushed in. but visibility dropped to zero. Shots fired blindly into the smoke. Shouts echoed. Confusion spread. And within that chaos, Zonguli and his team disappeared. Outside, engines roared. Black SUVs sped away from the scene, tires screeching against the asphalt as they tore through traffic. Police vehicles gave chase immediately. Sirens screamed. The chase was on. Through the streets of Washington, D.C., the convoy moved like a bullet, cutting through intersections, swerving past cars, forcing drivers out of the way. A police cruiser slammed into a divider, trying to keep up. Another nearly clipped a bus. But Zonguli's vehicles kept moving. Precise. Untouchable. Inside one of the SUVs, Zonguli sat calmly. Even now, even in the middle of chaos, he looked out the window as the city blurred past. Then slowly, he picked up a phone. Phase complete. Behind him, police lights filled the streets. Helicopters tracked from above. But one by one, the SUVs split. Different directions. Different routes. Within minutes, they were gone. Vanished into the city like ghosts. Back at the bank, chaos remained. Smoke. Broken glass. Sirens. Fear. And one realization. This wasn't just a robbery. It was a statement. 3 days later, inside an FBI operations room, that statement played over and over again on a large screen. Gunfire. Explosions. The chase. Every second analyzed. Every move studied. And, standing at the front of the room, was Aminal, watching, understanding. Because while others saw violence, she saw something else. Control. Precision. A mind behind the chaos. She stepped closer to the screen. Pause it. The image froze on Zonguli walking through gunfire like it didn't exist. Aminal's voice dropped slightly. He didn't lose control for a second. The room was silent. And that was when the lead agent spoke. We're not going after his network anymore. He turned toward her. We're going after him. A pause. You're going undercover. Aminal didn't hesitate. How close? The agent looked at Zonguli's frozen face. Close enough for him to trust you. Another pause. Close enough for him to fall in love with you. And just like that, the most dangerous story of her life began. Months later, under a new identity, a new life, and a carefully crafted persona, Aminal stepped into a luxury nightclub in D.C. Music pulsed through the air. Lights flashed across a crowd, hiding secrets behind smiles, and somewhere above it all, Zonguli was watching. Their eyes met, and in that moment, the mission truly began. At first, their conversations were brief, careful, measured. Zonguli was not a man who trusted easily, but Aminal was patient. She never pushed, never rushed. She allowed curiosity to grow, and slowly, it did. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Private dinners replaced casual meetings. Conversations became deeper, more personal, more dangerous, because something unexpected began to happen. The line between mission and reality started to blur. Zonguli wasn't just a criminal. He was disciplined, protective, complex, and the more Aminal learned about him, the harder it became to separate truth from duty. You're different, Zonguli said one night. They were alone. No guards. No noise. Just silence. How she asked softly, "You don't look at me like the others do. And how do they look at you?" He paused. "Like I'm something to fear." Aminal held his gaze. "Maybe I'm not afraid." That was the moment everything changed. By the 9th month, they were inseparable. What started as strategy became something real, or at least it felt real. And one night, in a quiet penthouse, as rain fell against the windows, they crossed a line that could never be undone. They found themselves in the same bed in the morning. Weeks later, Aminal sat alone, staring at a test in her hand, her heart racing. Positive. She was pregnant. This was never part of the plan. But now, everything had changed. The FBI moved fast. They had enough evidence. The operation was complete. Stand down. 48 hours. That was the order. 48 hours before everything came crashing down. The arrests were precise. Warehouses raided. Accounts frozen. Men taken into custody. And Zonguli was captured without a fight. As he was being taken away, His eyes searched the crowd until they found hers. Aminal stood still, silent, and in that moment, he understood everything. The trial was quick. The sentence was clear. 10 years. 10 years behind bars. Aminal watched from a distance, one hand resting gently over her stomach. He never spoke to her again, but he didn't need to. The silence said everything. Months passed, then years. Aminal left the FBI. She built a quiet life, far from the chaos, far from the past, and she raised their son, a boy with his father's eyes and his mother's strength. But no matter how far she went, she could never escape one truth. She still loved him. One night, she made a decision, a dangerous one. She was going to bring him back. The plan was careful, precise, calculated, just like the mission that once brought them together. But this time, she wasn't working for the FBI. She was following her heart. The night of the escape was silent. Every move timed perfectly, every risk calculated. And when the moment came, Zhongli walked out of prison, free, for the first time in years. He stepped into the darkness and saw her, standing there, waiting. Why, he asked. Aminal stepped closer. Because this time, I choose you. Days later, they disappeared. No records, no names, no trace, until they reached a place far away from everything. Mexico, a new life, a new beginning. Life was simple now, quiet, peaceful. Zhongli built something honest. Aminal raised their child, and slowly, they healed. One evening, as the sun set across the horizon, they sat together outside their home. Their son laughed nearby. Free, happy, alive. Zhongli looked at her. You changed everything. She smiled softly. No, we did. And for the first time in his life, a man who once ruled through fear finally understood something greater than power. Peace. Because sometimes the greatest escape is not running from the past, but choosing a better future. And that was their true ending.